Good evening, Shortcuts. This is Stephen here with a list for June 12th, 9 p.m. Sydney time. The price list will come out. If anything on this list catches your eye, drop me an email at shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. This is a reggae, jazz, blues, and I don't think I've got any soul. Oh, no, I do. One soul funk record as well. So, yeah, this is a very varied list. And, I'm looking forward to talking to you about it. So here we go. I could have picked any of these as kick-off. I mean, there's Stevie Ray, there's B.B. King, there's Burning Spear, Buddy Guy, Miles Davis, you name it. But I'm going with what is actually my favourite record from the list. And this is my copy, and this is the copy that I have for sale. I'm going to show it to you first. So this is a Vinyl Me Please exclusive, long sold out. It was one of 500, and this is number 299. So what is Dadawa, Peace and Love? This is the record I buy when I have a friend who's got a special anniversary, whether it be a 40th or 50th or something, and they're a music fan, and they're probably expecting me to buy something. This is the one I buy. I have bought this for 3 people, including a very special friend who I was visiting out in Perth, and I brought it with me to give it to him in person. So this record was made in 1974, the year of my birth, and that is Raz Michael on the sleeve, who was kind of leading reggae roots kind of singer-songwriter. Not really much of a singer, definitely more of a chanter than a singer. And I think this is where this record comes into play. This record is one of the most beautiful, hypnotic, all-enveloping albums I've ever heard. It starts off with a rolling drum, and you will wonder, is this jazz? It plays with your expectations. Eventually the bass rolls in, and what you'll start to notice is so many layers of percussion. Now, Raz Michael was a hand drummer himself, so you'll start to hear his rhythms, but on the back you'll see a number of kind of African musicians with, I guess, the kind of the styling of African rhythm, and that comes through. But it's super mellow and circular rhythms and this incredible chanting. I mean, it really does lend itself to the term spiritual jazz. It feels and is in that oeuvre, and it is so lovely. And the name Peace and Love just completely says it all. This Vinyl Me Please pressing even has the original Air Jamaica kind of logo. It's a wonderful thing. I absolutely love it. This one I think was a run of 750 actually. If you don't know it, give it a listen. It's on the on Trojan, as you can see. I love it. I think it's a really interesting and special and different record. So highly, highly recommend it. And number 2 is also a Vinyl Me Please exclusive. Now, this is my copy. So this is Gene Russell, who was the founder of the Black Jazz label, and that's him there. And this record is called Talk to My Lady, and there's some really, really good listening notes in this about the label, what it started, what it represented. You can see here the beautiful vinyl. It's a really nice sounding record. They obviously, I'm just going to read. I'm pretty sure that they tracked down the tapes for this one. I'm just going to double check. Actually, I'm not sure. The bassist was Henry Franklin, and the guitarist is Calvin Keys. And the guitarist bit is really important because this is more of a electric groove jazz. The second track in particular, Get Down, the cover of Me and Mrs. Jones, You Are the Sunshine of My Life, obviously another great song covered, my favorite things. So you get this really cool musicianship with this really deeply funky sound, and it sounds delightful. It's a really inviting and open record. Very, very easy to love. So highly recommend it as well. So they're two sold out Vinyl Me Please exclusives that I had some duplicates of when I did some shelf sorting, and so there they are. I love them both very much. Now, it hurt me a lot to drop this third record off the top spot, but I love those two, and so this one's a little bit more famous. But this is Marcus Garvey by Burning Spear. Now, you're probably thinking, that's not a sleeve I know, and that's because this is the Jamaican original pressing, and indeed, the record that I'm about to show you has the original Jamaican mix. Now, the original Jamaican mix of this record is a bit slower and a bit more full in the bass than the mix that went to the UK, that went to Island Records and has become the standard all around the world. And if you have a look at the label on this, you get, look at that, the Burning Spear label. So Marcus Garvey by Burning Spear is always in the list of the greatest reggae albums of all time. It was Burning Spear's third record, and it was such a big cultural moment in Jamaica that many people actually thought that it was their debut, but they didn't. They did 2 records on Studio One before releasing Marcus Garvey. Now, Marcus Garvey was a founding father in some respects of Rastafarianism. Now, he's a complex character, and writing an album about Marcus Garvey was quite the statement. The opening track is actually the title track, Marcus Garvey. It produced by Lawrence Lindo, who went by the name Jack Ruby. And Jack Ruby, his style was very much of almost like the UK, what became the UK style for mixing reggae records. Very deep, full bass, very interesting effects, particularly in the percussion. Winston Rodney was the lead singer. At this time, Burning Spear were a trio, but subsequently became really Winston Robbie. But at this time, you had Robbie Shakespeare on bass and a whole bunch of other musicians. So Marcus Garvey opens side 1, old Marcus Garvey opens side 2, but in between those 2 songs, I think you have the heart of the album. Songs like Slavery Days or The Invasion. And it's like African spiritualism and activism kind of crashed into the Jamaican love of mellow and sweet, and they created this new sound, and it became kind of the touchstone for one of my favorite genres, which is roots reggae. And in roots reggae, what you get really interesting horn sounds and horn effects as well. It's an amazing record, and I'm very fortunate to have a couple of Jamaican presses, and so this is one that it's BG Plus. It plays really well, and it's just a beautiful thing. it probably should have been a kickoff record, but it is what it is now. If you don't know Marcus Garvey by Burning Spear, you really could do a lot worse. It's a great record. And so is this. This is Stevie Ray Vaughan's sophomore record, his second album, Couldn't Stand the Weather, which came out pretty quickly after the runaway success of his debut album. What was it, Texas Flood? You know, there's that old truism, and it is a truism, that you have your whole life to write the songs for your first album and then a few months to write the songs for your second album. And you can kind of see that here. So this is a very rare press. This is the Japanese first press in practically mint condition. I cannot look, even the insert is magnificent. The record plays absolutely silently. It's big and booming. It's just a beautiful thing. So, you know, what happens to artists like this who have a runaway first record and then the pressure comes to write the second record is you'll get some cover versions. And the great thing about Couldn't Stand the Weather is that the cover versions are spectacular. Particularly the 8+ minute version of Voodoo Child's Slight Return by Jimi Hendrix. It's got 8 songs on the album, and there was a trend, I guess, in that time of having these really long kind of drawn out songs. That wasn't his style. And you know, if you think about the opening track on the Scuttlebutton, where there's 2 instrumentals on this and they're both very short and very punchy. The opening one is just a complete rip-roaring ride through some blues chords, and then it kind of flows into the title track. So it's really good. The other kind of lengthy track is Tin Pan. I think it's Tin Pan Alley. But you know, if you don't know this record, this Japanese pressing will knock your socks off. Well, you all know what I feel about the Pink Probe label, and this is one of the most underrated B.B. King records. This is Guess Who from 1970. He was on his greatest run of records, Indianola, Mississippi Seeds, and you know, others. And Guess Who has kind of fallen a little bit off the pedestal when it comes to B.B. King records. But the fact of it is that if you love that style, that kind of horn-driven, beautiful, pure tone blues that he was producing at this time, this record will just sort you out. You'll love it. He plays with Cornell Dupree, who is a great guitarist on his own, and of course played on maybe my favourite record, you know, King Curtis's live record, Live at the Fillmore West. So the musicianship's wonderful. There's a couple of songs here that remained on his kind of live playlist for decades, particularly the third track on side 2 called Guess Who. He played that for donkey's years, and it's brilliant. And that's the Pink Probe label, Japanese first press of B.B. King's Guess Who. All right, now let's move on to a few more records to go on this list. All of these will be on the price list that will come out 9 p.m. Sydney time on Wednesday. This is Voz de Brazil by Milton Nascimento, who is one of the most interesting of the 70s Brazilian singer-songwriters. An amazing voice, an incredible falsetto voice too. There's some live tracks on this record that you'll hear that, but this is a compilation that came out only in Japan in the I think it's the early 80s. If you don't know Milton Nascimento, it's a great way to learn a little bit about this kind of I don't know if I would say in Brazil is iconic. There may be some of you out there who, I know there's some Brazilians in the club, so you might be able to let me know, but certainly he's up there in terms of, well, you know, this is a guy who's won 5 Grammys, including, you know, World Album of the Year. And so, you know, Milton Nascimento doesn't need me to big him up. It's pretty cool. All right. I think there's 6 to go. And I've already spent 14 minutes. My gosh. Well, So you know how much I love my 70s funk. So this record, if you know and love your fuzzed out guitar, funkadelic 70s vibe, then this is the record for you. Don't Fight the Feeling on the Soulville label by Sound Experience. Multiple voices, crazy production standards, just a fun time record. This is a party record, but especially if you love that cracking 70s sound. Now I have a couple of what I call shortcuts royalty now before running for home with a couple of jazz records. I have raved about this record, and I've spoken about it numerous times, so I'm not going to go into depth. But Bobby Charles's only really solo record, is a masterpiece. He is backed by the band, so there's rumours as to whether Robbie Robertson was there or not. I think I can hear Robbie Robertson play, but he's not in the credits. But you get Levon Helm, Garth Hudson, Richard Manuel, you get Dr. John, and it is, I think of it like a white Bill Withers. You have this wonderful laconic acoustic sound, chiming piano from Richard Manuel, these incredibly melodic and beautifully sung songs. It is so tasteful. It's a cult classic. It just deserves to be in more and more people's collections. Plus, he's got a golden retriever, which makes me think of Bowie. There's a song on here that tears me up all the time because it reminds me of my dad. And I'm actually going to pull it out of the sleeve here just to show you a little bit more. The kind of cheekiness of the back sleeve. There he is. And down here you'll see the long list of people, because he had, he'd been a songwriter for a long time, so he had a lot of friends. You got Bobby Charles, obviously, Rick Danko, Levon Helm, Garth Hudson, Richard Manuel, Bob Newworth, Mac Rabenak, who's obviously Dr. J. And the song that just slays me, because it reminds me of my dad, is I Must Be in a Good Place Now. What a beautiful day to go fishing. So, a couple more to go before we finish off. Another Shortcuts royalty. So Shortcuts royalty are those records that over the life of this club, which is over 5 years now, that we just know and love, and it's these. This is Junior Wells and Buddy Guy, Play the Blues. It's just an amazing blues record. Obviously Buddy Guy on guitar, Junior Wells singing, and Junior Wells playing blistering, and I mean blistering, harmonica. I think this is a Japanese first press as well. I'll have to double check. But it's wonderful. All right, 3 to go. Fred Wesley and the Horny Horns. Fred Wesley being the band leader of the JBs, James Brown's backing band, for a long time. And this was one of his own bands. You had a few. The Horny Horns being Maceo Parker. So Maceo Parker is kind of like a tenor and alto sax genius, and he was also in the JBs. And you can also find some Maceo Parker solo records. If you ever see them, they're well worth seeking out. And you've got Rick Gardner on trumpet and Richard Cush Griffith on trumpet. So the Horny Horns being completely, this is upbeat, rhythmic, horn-driven funk of the utmost standard. Lots of special guests. So on here you get Bootsy Collins, you get Bernie Worrell, who was the synthesizer genius behind Funkadelic and Parliament. So he's in the band as well, and you'll hear his influence all the way through. It's just a lovely, lovely thing, and it's an unusual pressing. I think it's an American white label promo, but I'm going to have to do a bit more research to be able to confirm that for you. And 2 jazz records to go. Just 2 records from the 50s. Well, kind of the 50s of jazz. These are what I call, well, I guess the genre is cool jazz, and this is the one that kicked it off. Miles Davis's Birth of the Cool. Now, this was recorded a long time before it was released. His first sessions as a band leader in kind of 1950 or so. But when it did get released, it just set the scene. You get short, punchy jazz songs, rhythmic driving, incredible drumming, Jerry Mulligan playing. The band themselves, a lot of them went on to become kind of pretty phenomenal players on their own. Max Roach on drums, for example. But you get 12 or 13, 12 kind of really just spectacular, cool jazz. It really did set the scene. If you don't know this record, it might surprise you where Miles Davis started out. And then this is a band that one of you out there, Ivon, you know who you are, put me on to, and I got a couple of copies. This is the Three Sounds. Gene Harris on piano and Celeste, Andrew Simpkins on bass, and Bill Dowdy on drums. Really, really beautiful sleeve notes by Leonard Feather. Here you hear again, who's a bit of a shortcuts legend. Again, super melodic, clean, beautiful piano and bass mix. Again, the type of jazz record that you can put on when there's people in your place who go, I don't like jazz, and they go, actually, you know what, that's pretty good. And it really is. It's a lovely thing. In fact, it's on my record player just behind me here. I was listening to it whilst I was preparing for this video. So there you have it. The soul, jazz, blues, funk list for June, what is it going to be? June 12th. I hope there's something there that you can go off and explore and enjoy. And yeah, if you've made it this far, thank you for making it to the end. And again, if you want to receive the list and you're not on the list, send me your email address as reply to, or just send me a note to shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com. Thanks all. Bye.